so what people think I say, and it's not what I said, and thank you for bringing that up, right? They think I say, he's got to be the man, you got to be the girl. He's got to be tough, and you got to be passive, and he's got to lead, and you just shut up and, like, just make some babies and cook. That's not what I'm saying. Like, I come from a background of dancing, as we talked about. Look behind me. This is my wife and I ballroom dancing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Now, that is the relationship.
Hello and welcome back to Healing and Growing Hand in Hand podcast. I'm your host, Lisa Tickle, and our guest today is Paradis, and he is an inspirational relationship coach. And it's really interesting what we're going to talk about. We had a huge discussion before we started the recording. It was great. Wish I had the recording going. But a lot of what we're going to talk about today is how feminine, masculine energies affect relationships and why it is important to heal your childhood trauma to find the right partner. And I've talked about this before, that getting in there and healing that childhood trauma is going to help the relationship you have with yourself, as well as more importantly with others. Not more importantly, but in addition to helping others. And something that you wrote in your guest form that I really liked was, in my journey as a relationship coach, I have learned that unless you heal your childhood traumas, your chances of being in a healthy relationship of any kind are very low. We get into a cycle of getting into the same pattern in relationships that we always have experienced. So true. I'm a walking testament to that.
So am I. So am I. I discovered this trying to figure out my life.
Yeah.
I was doing my own journey before I walked through it, and on the other side now I can actually help people with this because I've done it.
Right.
Except I'm trying to get people there like quickly, as opposed to me taking 20 years to get there.
Yeah, like I did. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, shorten that suffering, right?
Right. Please, right? Because it's the not knowing, the not understanding any of this that keeps us suffering. Period.
Well, and like we were saying before we started the recording, relationships are so complicated. You've got individuals who are complicated, and then the whole relationship arena is so complicated. You've got different things that happen within a love relationship as opposed to a friendship, as opposed to acquaintance. There's just a lot. But a lot of what we're going to focus on, I think, is really going to help a lot of people. And we were having a really great discussion before we started the recording about the feminine and masculine energies. And so before we kind of dive into that, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and how you got here into this, into relationships?
Well, interesting. So my background is, as a younger man, I was a professional dancer. I danced with Michael Jackson, Prince, Paula Abdul, right? So I did yes, that was one of the 1%.
Jealous.
That was sort of, but it's actually saved my life. I was a miserable kid, poor parenting, abandoned, really at the age of, from the beginning. My mother didn't want to be pregnant with me, and kind of I was born knowing that, feeling that, and she continued acting that way. Weird. But ultimately, I didn't know why I was here. There was a hole in my heart, right? There was a mistake. It was a terrible mistake somehow. Like, I didn't belong here. So, sad little kid. But at 15, I went to a private high school. At 15, I ended up in a ballroom class. We could do ballroom for PE. And
wow.
I went from like invisible geek in 4 months to being like star of the class, because I remember the first time the first time in class with a girl in my arms. I think we were in the cha-cha, and I remember looking to my right at the teacher. Whatever he did, I could just copy. It was crazy. It was like, it's a gift of God that I didn't know I had. I never danced a day in my life, but this was it there. So I go from invisible geek to 4 months later, I'm star, like star of class, and teacher's assistant. All the girls want to dance with me because the other guys don't get it, And so that was the beginning. And so, but that, you understand this, like dancing and music coming together vibrationally.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, it lifts your spirit.
Yep.
Right? It like
100%.
Right? So it gives you like all the good chemistries.
Yep.
So literally, I decided to do this for a living because I didn't want to do anything else. I think I smiled for the first time in my life in that class.
Oh.
Like it just lifts. So it actually saved my life in the end. It got me healthy in the brain, constantly going for the good chemistry and the feeling good, feeling happy. I went from, I'm not supposed to be here, to this is okay. Maybe I could groove here for a little while, and then to kind of go, well, I'm doing pretty good, right? And literally kind of, but I was on the journey for finding my life and my purpose and the reason for why I was here. So part of that, since I was 23 years old, I've been in personal development workshops since then. again, trying to get my life together, my brain, my
Mhm.
money, my career, my like so constantly challenging myself.
Mhm.
Back then, it was weird. My friends are like, let's go to the beach. I go, I'll be in a workshop this weekend. They go, you're so weird. I go, you go to the beach. I'll just be learning some stuff, right? So that's sort of part of my brain, like wanting to excel and constantly curious about myself, the human condition, and in that, the human condition became an
Yeah.
obsession. So that's how it started. When I stopped dancing, I was always in personal development workshops, and by 2006, I ended up in a workshop called Understanding Women, completely haphazardly. It seemed like completely random. I now understand nothing is random, but at the time, till then, I thought life was random, right? And that pivoting, I had three pivotal moments in my life, and that one started the whole thing. Understanding women. By then, I have two little kids, married to my wife for like about 8 years. We're doing great. I'm not looking for this. I'm just doing workshops. I get invited to this workshop, Understanding Women. Okay, that'll be cute, right? Change, and it rocked my world because
Mm.
on the other side of the workshop, I realized I knew nothing about women. And again, I'm an artist kind of guy, easygoing, so I always have an ease to the ladies. And I thought it was me because I thought it was artistic personality, easygoing, right? That's not it, right? So I understood out of that workshop that I knew nothing about women, which meant I knew nothing about my wife, and that scared the life out of me. That
Mm.
scared the life out of me. Like my wife is my baby, my angel, right? I have two little kids. I have my family. I'm building my life. I have everything. I have everything. Wait, I know nothing about her, how she processed, what she takes it personally, why she takes it personally, what things that I say or don't say land on her, do or don't do, land on her, like, oh, the brain, like her completely different processing brain,
Mhm.
different chemistry, right? Estrogen
Yeah.
soaked brain and a testosterone different machine. Like chemically, we're
Mhm.
different, and we
Yep.
behave differently because of it, right? So all of that, so now you have to know. Also, I have four siblings. There's five of us, four siblings, all divorced and remarried, two, three, and one's on four, right? So
Boy.
for me, like not knowing this was dangerous. I have like I said, I have my family, I have my baby, like so the fear is actually what it was. I jump into the field just for us because I didn't want to be a statistic. I didn't want us to be a statistic. So I kept studying. After that workshop, I took that company's entire curriculum. I started assisting the workshop because you could do it for free after you paid for it, just to get the material. Again, it was just for me and her. And then it happened. Like after that, I became a workshop leader for them briefly,
Oh.
but I kept pushing because I'm a teacher at heart. So that was a
Yeah.
no brain. It was a very transition. It was a tantalizing topic and fun to teach. And anyway, so the discoveries. But then from there, I went through John Gray, Mars and Venus. His research and his material that I went after. Esther Perel, who's now famous, at the time she wasn't, in New York City. She's a French therapist, and she teaches all about intimacy and love. And can you really can you desire what you already have? The disconnect that happens in intimacy in as relationships get older, fantastic shit, like fantastic stuff,
Mhm.
right? Like it's a different angle of the dynamic of relationship, right? So
Right.
uh, Dr. Pat Allen here in Los Angeles, 48 years as a child marriage child with married child relationship coach,
Mhm.
no, therapist, and I spent 3.5 years in a room with her with three or four other people learning everything she's discovered in the past
Wow.
in her career. Incredible stuff, and it kind of all the dots together, right? All the
Yeah.
stuff, I think that I learned, and Ellison Armstrong was the first one with that Understanding Women workshop that started. So five masters under which I trained, on which shoulders I stand on, plus my own crazy research. Because look, I have a book, a file next to me on my left, this thick, and this the research that I've done the past 3 months. I constantly keep looking,
Yeah.
digging to be able
Yep.
to decode, explain it, say it differently, right? Because
Right.
all that stuff. So that's how I got here. So it was literally to not be a statistic. And next thing you know, like I just eat the stuff up and I started teaching it, and then
Mhm.
my friends came, and next thing you know, I had to actually leave. I had another business. So I was dancing for 15 years. I opened a car business in Los Angeles to raise my family. I wanted to be stable and be in town to raise my kids. And so at phase two of my life, But so when that started, the teaching, like both businesses kind of took over, and I ended up kind of being completely overwhelmed. So I had to
Yeah.
sell the car business, to do this as life pulled me towards it. And it was
Yep.
now I realize this is always my life's purpose is to be this guy, to be here to
Mhm.
help people with what I understand about my own journey, but also to help people with all that relationship stuff that is so counter. What's out there right now is making relationships, long-term relationships, healthy long-term relationships, almost impossible.
Mhm.
Almost impossible. And so everyone's confused, everyone's mad. The women are hurt. The guys are like, whatever. You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it's a shit show, but nobody understands why. So that's
Yeah,
where I come in.
it's almost like relationships are treated like they're disposable.
Mhm.
Especially here in California. You and I are both in California, and it's,
Yep. Yep.
and especially we look at Hollywood and all that goes on there,
Oy.
and you can see people being married 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 times,
Yeah.
and they don't
Crazy.
even bat an eye at it, like it's normal. Oh, well, we got married, and so now we're breaking up, and
Yeah.
there's a common denominator in this situation when you're married 7 times, right?
It's it's you. It's
Yeah,
you.
it's you.
It's you.
Definitely, definitely,
And,
especially that many times. But and even and I've talked about it in my other podcast about relationships. Even just friendships are tough when you're an adult. It's really tough to have adult friendships, and then when you go into the intimate relationships, that's even tougher.
oh, it's
That's,
another layer, right? It's
ooh,
a whole
yeah,
you more emotion, more more
vulnerable.
more at stake, right? So
Yeah,
what do you reveal? What do you cover?
right.
It's a different calibration that with friends, family, even and or coworkers, right? Like, but the love
Mm-hmm.
dynamic, whoo, does it makes us
Right.
raw,
It does.
right? It
And
brings out
it's in it's in those relationships when we start getting triggered and a lot of stuff comes up. It's yeah.
it's actually the point of a relationship is to kind of really put your life, the mirror right to your face, is see how you are, see how
Yeah.
you are, see
Yeah.
how you are, see how you are. This is how you are. This is what they're responding to you, and you're
Yeah.
responding to them. So it's kind of if you approach it right, it's actually a fascinating study to decode your bullshit, right?
Yeah.
Excuse my French, because we all have our load of crap that we carry
Yeah.
around, and trying to blame the world for it often, right?
Yeah.
And playing victim, or then really just leaning in into being
Yeah.
toxic. So we all have our crap, but again, you said it earlier. If you don't fix, for me, I call it the baggage of your past. If you don't unload the baggage of your past, I can't get anybody in a healthy relationship with the baggage of your past, starting with your family, your parents, and then all the bad relationships that confirm that you're not
Right.
lovable, you're not worthy. Right? Like it's simple. We have to clean that up to get you even in a
Right.
dynamic that is possible with somebody else's bullshit
Right.
and baggage, right? Like so. But that's the point. That's actually is the point. Like people think it's if it's not easy and fun, after a little while, then it's the wrong person. It's the exact opposite. It's in the
Yes.
conflict resolution that when you both have each other's back, that you get actually closer and closer and closer.
When I started connecting the dots from my childhood
Hmm.
and seeing that picture in full, and then watching my young adult life and into my adult life, it makes so much sense why I took that path. It makes complete sense. At the time I kept thinking, why am I doing this? Why do I keep making these decisions? And I sat down and I literally put my timeline together. And it
Right,
helped me understand, well, I had no other place to go without healing and having a good relationship with me to begin with. Of
yep,
course I'm going to go to where I know. It just sometimes looks a little different, right?
right, right, right. And it again, it's kind of the tragedy of being human or having a human brain is we think we make choices, right? And we really just are on cruise control,
Correct.
right? Like 95% of our lives are driven by the subconscious. The subconscious is
Yep.
decisions that you made about the world, yourself, life, and people at the
Yep.
age of 5.
Yes.
So when you weren't parented right, like me and most of us on some level, right? There's different degrees of insult and injury, right? And abandonment, neglect, and abuse issues, and some have all three plus sexual abuse, right? So everybody's got their
Stuff.
crap from childhood. If and what happened is if you make a decision at 5, mine is I don't belong here,
Yeah.
right? I don't belong here, so I'm a mistake, and I'm not going to be here very long. I can tell because I don't know why I'm here, and I'm not supposed to be here. Somebody made it there, right? So imagine at 5 years old carrying this around. Now, most of us forget those decisions, but if you made a conclusion at 5, because it's always,
Mhm.
formative years, 5, between 5 and 11, but the
Yep.
first primary ones are always at 5. Sometimes 4, it's rare, 6, but it's always 5 when the
Mhm.
consciousness and the thinking and the feeling come together. You go, wait,
Yep.
these right, and we take things personally. If I'm not loved right, then there's something wrong with me. I must be a terrible kid. I must be a terrible right. Kids take that personally. It's not.
Yeah.
We can't see our parents as the offenders. We see them as gods. And if these
Yeah.
anyway, so if you make a decision, Louis, in your head at 5 years old that you forgot all about, that you're not worthy, you're not lovable, you're not good enough, you don't belong here, mine. Do you know what I mean? Then what we do literally is from that consciousness of that belief, we go in life in the world as young adults and we go and prove that.
Yep.
So you attract toxic people like your
Yep.
father, like your mother, and you go, see, they're all the same. See,
Confirms
they're all
everything.
confirm, and then you keep confirming, confirming, confirming.
Mhm.
This is why it's important to do your work because
Yep.
the rest of your life is going to be ruined if you don't clean yourself up because you keep attracting your injuries as
Yep.
opposed to leaving that behind. So that's the work that I do. That's
I love it.
essential.
One thing I want to bring up that came to mind when you were talking earlier about,
Hmm.
how we tend to blame others and blah blah blah. Think about this. How disempowering it is if I walk through life and I'm blaming everybody else for all my problems as opposed to stopping and going, okay, what part can I have in this so
Hmm.
that I can change so that I don't repeat this cycle and be
Right.
empowered. I mean, it just
Right.
hit me. I don't know why it hit me just now the way it did in my
Well,
head and the way I'm
the,
explaining it. But, we're disempowered if we're blaming everybody else. But if
yeah,
we stop and take a minute and we go, okay, wait a minute, this keeps happening. Why? Why does this keep
right, right.
happening? What am
Well,
I contributing to it?
part of our wiring is, first of all, in our culture is very, very. There's a lot of power in being a victim.
True.
There's a lot of power, and this
Correct.
is so it's an easy cop out to blame everything away from you. It's him, it's her, it's life,
Right.
it's the government, it's the economy, it's right. Victim, play victim, and but people get in situation when people break up because he blah 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 or she blah blah
Right.
blah. Right, the victim gets all the attention. Oh my God, I'm so sorry for you. Like, you
Hmm.
good for you for getting away from him. Right, like victim. It could make you make you can make shit up because all lies, and you get a lot of attention. Anyway, so
Yeah.
that's one. But the other part of humanity, or kind of default system that we have to catch is we're reactive. We're
Yes.
reactive. We're reactive. We're reactive. So as a woman, especially because your feelings drive your lives, for
Yeah.
us, it's not more logic, right? We both have both, but yours is
Hmm.
more in your feelings. When you don't feel right, when he makes you feel this or that, right? You're gonna blame him for it because he
Right.
did it, because he did that. So I'm angry now. He did that, and I'm feeling abandoned. I did, right? So it's easy to blame. We're
Right.
reactive. Like the little girl in you is hurt, so you attack,
Yeah.
right? And he goes, "What
Yeah.
the hell?" And he backs off. He goes, "See, they're all the same. They don't care, right? It's all
Right.
crap, right?" So we're reactive. Now, what smart people do is they kind of keep watching the reaction, realizing again, it's always you, right? Why do I do this?
Hmm.
Where's the problem? Where's that come from?
Hmm.
So then you become, if you track, that's exactly what you said, right? Instead of being reactive, if you could look at things rationally, right? Rationally, like left brain, let's think this through. Let's think this through. What is this? Is that what they meant? Is that what's happening really? Or am I making
Hmm.
stuff up? Am I reacting to my past? And it's always that.
Yep.
So enough that I had one of my clients who's been completely, her childhood was just horrendous.
Mm.
And so of course she's masculine as all hell because that's what happens when a little girl doesn't feel safe. She becomes masculine. She can't
Yep.
grow into feminine. So she attracted a guy who's a girl, right? So he's soft and sensitive and doesn't want to work. She's like the boss babe, right? So again, the yin yang works, but they're both ego dystonic. They're both backwards. She's more of a
Hmm.
man. He's more of a girl. Now that's the polarity. I get it. So and then they had a child, and now it's the divorce, and it's World War III, and he's
Oh.
because he's a girl, he's vicious like women can be, right? So men typically aren't vicious, so now he's trying to destroy her, trying to whatever. It's just
Mm.
really really horrible. And she's like, as we're decoding this, her history and then his, so she understands, even though I'm not working with him, but she understands where he comes from, and why they're together, why the shit show that they could produce. And
Right.
she's like, well, how does anybody make it then? You know, if we all have our injuries, I go, because some have like this much injuries and you have this much injury.
Yeah.
So people that have this can stay somewhat rational, and when they get triggered, they go, okay, what, babe, what just happened? What
Right.
happened here, right? Like they can manage it because they're sort of not so reactive, and they
Right.
can like take their. I always say, take your corners, chill out, come back and go, okay, so what's happened? How did we get
Yeah.
there? Like we were fine, and all of a sudden, like we, I went to, well, because when you said that, that's what happened to me. It made me. Oh, so sorry, so sorry. Right? Again, triggered by stuff from the past.
Yes.
It's always that, right? And so I always say to people, like, it's humans are so funny. Like
They
we
are.
meet somebody, right, and we try to show them that we're easygoing, we're happy, we're no
Yes.
trouble. I would put up this whole freaking bullshit
It's
story
so
up front,
true.
right? Because we want them to like us, right? But that's not who you are, right? Now, we both do this, by the way.
Oh yeah.
So the first 3 months we call the honeymoon phase for that reason. But I say to people, like, before you start something, right? Before you need to find out if you're compatible. In my world, there's four things you have to go a long-term relationship that's healthy. Four things people typically don't investigate, but we fall in love, we have chemistry, right? It's not enough, and it's just not enough anyway. So I say before you actually get invested in your heart, right? Because when you get attached, the disconnect, the ripping is an injury, another
Yeah.
injury, right?
Yeah.
As if you have to reveal your bullshit, like, tell them instead of trying to pretend everything's fine. You easy going, and you no trouble, right? And then find out that all this got to come out anyway. But I say
Right.
bringing it forward faster than later, so that if they know, like for me, like because of my shitty parenting, if my wife makes me feel like she forgot that I exist,
Ooh, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
going to the store and not buying the stuff that I need for whatever,
Yeah.
right? Like this is simple stuff. It's like she's a mom, she's busy, but again, but that's my trigger. So
Right.
if I feel like she forgot that I existed, my mother, boom, like I
Yep.
go in the hole so fast, right? Like
Yep.
this man that I am disappears. You
Yeah.
get the kid who was abandoned. You just
Yeah.
go right. So yeah, I
Yeah.
have to tell her that. I told her that as soon as I could. Like, by the way, if I disappear, this man disappears, it's probably one of these two things, right?
Yeah.
So look back at it's reactive. So please
Mm.
try not to, right? And same for her. Seems to her stuff as well through for her family history. That I know that if I pull, like, flick that nerve, not knowing,
Yeah.
because I don't have on my consciousness, but I'll see the reaction, right?
Yes.
And then we
Yeah.
go, okay, okay, well,
Yeah. What's
right?
going on? Yeah.
Cool off. We come back. What
Yeah.
happened? When you
Yeah.
said this, that's what happened to me. When you did that, that's what happened to me, right? It's just made me flashback me into, right, feeling
Yeah.
abandoned, feeling da, 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 da. Oh, I'm so sorry, babe. Like, but like we could fix it from there because I understand that's her injuries, right? And then my
Right.
injuries. So that's how we navigate the triggers.
You're
We all
right.
have them, but that's how you have to do. So instead of trying to pretend that you're so easygoing and so fun and so easy and so loving and oh yeah, you have sex all the time because I love sex. But really, right? No, so again, forward with your crap, and then
Forward think.
give somebody a chance to really kind of like discover if you're really truly compatible.
Yeah.
Again, that's one of the second thing, that chemistry, compatibility, communication, and then circumstances. You have to be in a place where there's something buildable. Like circumstances often is, I get that all the time. Meet a guy, he's fantastic, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's right, but he's divorced, right? He's available, except he's got a 10 and an 8-year old that he's raising. Don't want to bring a woman into this, right? It's too busy. Circumstances, right? I have another client. He's French. She's American. They got married. They moved to Europe. He came back to the United States. She stayed in Europe. Do you know what I mean? Now
Yeah.
they're divorced for a year, so they're both free. They're not divorced. They're separated for a year. So when my client meets him in New York City, right? They're compatible. They have chemistry. They have compatibility. They have communication. He's a good communicator, right? Circumstances. What happened is he will not divorce the wife because if he divorces her, she gets deported and she has a life in Paris now. So he's
Ugh.
here, she's there, but he's so loyal to her.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah, no.
he's not gonna ruin her life, so he's actually not available
Correct.
for marriage, which is what she wants. So circumstances are
Yeah.
always a big anyway. So the four have to be there for
Yeah.
anything to go long term. Most of us don't even take the time to investigate that. That's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. Like you have to go in. You have to see if you're compatible, and some of the stuff I just talked about. Your injuries, your lifestyles. Are you going the same direction? Marriage and kids, or marriage and no kids, or no marriage and kids, and or long term companion. Right? All these things nobody talks about. They just jump in, they cross their fingers. We have chemistry, so we do like we the sex gives us a feeling of compatibility. That's nature again. And then 9 months later, you realize you're not compatible. There's a deal breaker, and now you rip your heart in two again.
Hmm.
Takes a year to 2 years to recover, wasting your youth on
Yeah.
bullshit relationships just because we don't know how to do this stuff.
Yeah.
Anyway, I could do this
You
all day
know,
long. I'm sorry.
no, and you made me reflect
Whew.
on mine because I'm on my third marriage. I'm that person. So the first marriage, both my then husband and I, we were both hot messes, and I was committed to him. So I stayed married to him for 25 years, with him for 30, because I was really committed. When
Right.
I married him, my intent was to stay married.
Yep. But he
It
was a
didn't
boy.
work out.
He's a boy, right? He's a boy.
He's a boy. Now,
Right. Because
here's the thing. Your message was from a 5-year-old was what again? It was I don't
I,
matter.
I don't belong here.
I don't belong here.
I'm
Mine
not
was
supposed to
I'm
be
not
here.
loved. I'm not
Right.
loved.
Not lovable. Not
I'm
lovable.
not lovable. I'm not loved. And it was actually told to me. It was actually told to me. So it was
Yep.
absolutely my
Yep.
belief. So I went
Yep.
into, okay, so this marriage didn't work. So I got to jump. I got to find somebody else to love me. I've got to prove this wrong. Oh, I
Yep.
found someone, a narcissist,
Of course.
a full on, I didn't see it. And I didn't see the narcissistic behavior truly until after we got married. And then that
Yeah.
reared its ugly
But
head.
see, your subconscious is telling you you're not lovable, so you're going to attract somebody with a front that you discover that is going to make you feel like you're not lovable. It's crazy
Exactly.
what we do. Stupid
So
what we do.
he passed from cancer, and I really took a step back. I did jump into a relationship kind of quick, but I really went at it real slow,
Yep.
and I really looked at myself. And God really blessed me with a wonderful man that I'm married to now, because he really does, like I was saying before, he respects me, he understands me, he's in tune with me. It's
Right.
frightening how in tune he is with me, and we both are with each other.
Yep.
And we talk about it, where we call each other, like, we're iron sharpens iron. He brings gifts to the relationship that I bring gifts that are different, and we help each other. But I had to get this straightened out, because I saw the pattern and I realized
Yep.
I'm the one picking these guys.
Right. Right.
It's not these
That's
guys' fault. It's my fault. I'm picking them. Why am I
yes.
picking this?
And back to 5 years old. Like
Right.
I promise you, your daddy made you feel like you're not lovable.
Correct.
And so you pick that up, you don't even remember, and off you went, proving that.
I had
That's
to
what we
earn
do.
the love. I had to earn the
Oh,
love.
oh, that's another terrible one, right?
Right?
So
That's
unless you're productive, you're not worthy of being loved.
correct.
That's how we raise men, not
Yes.
women.
So let's segue into this about the
Yep,
feminine and masculine energies and
yep,
how it affects excuse me, our relationships, and how we do. I mean, we're just talking about the childhood trauma and how we need to work through that to get to a point where we can enter into a healthy relationship.
mhm.
So let's talk about the masculine and feminine energies.
Well, again, so my work, right? My ladies, all the people that I work with typically are hitting the wall with always the same result, right? Like
Yeah.
it never works out. It never works out. I'm not lovable. I'm not good enough. I'm not worthy, right? For men, it's typically I'm not good enough. For women, it's I'm not worthy. I'm not lovable. Interesting, right? 5 years old from
Yeah.
the circumstances. Um, well, so what happened? I said that I explained that a little bit earlier. If a little girl, get this, what's supposed to be the right thing, the right way to be raised in a family that's healthy is daddy is protection over the family. There's a dome of protection, even if he works a lot. Like he's present, he pays the bills, he makes everyone feel safe because he's not going anywhere and he's in charge, like a daddy is of things that are statistical of life. That allows the mother to be feminine, and then that for a feminine essence can then nurture the children appropriately. This is just the way it works best. This is how you build families that are healthy, and the kids to be actually become grown-ups that are healthy because the dynamic is in place. The little girls feel safe. The boys have a role model and a way to teach them how to be appropriately masculine. Fantastic. We need dad and we need mom, and the kids
Mhm.
benefit. All right. But if dad isn't present, or dad is bad, or dad's an alcoholic, right? If dad is not a man that makes anybody feel safe, mom becomes mama bear,
Yep.
which is masculine as all hell. She then provides and protects the kids, carry his butt around because he's not working and or doesn't want to, or he's addicted to all kinds of shit. That's a girl, by the way, right? What I mean by that is men who collapse into their feelings and use alcohol, food, sex, drugs to feel better. It's a feminine paradigm.
I like how you
Men
say
don't.
they fell into that. That's
They,
interesting. Hmm.
it's factual, right? Typically, they don't feel like they haven't cultivated their masculine, so they feel bad. They're anxious, and to get away from the pain, they get addicted to all kinds of shit. So
Hmm.
he's a man, looks like a man, but acts like a boy,
Yeah.
right? So
Yeah.
if you have a boy as a father, the boys don't have good role models. Mom is mama bear, so then the little girl roles models after mom, which is masculine as all hell, as the way to be. But get this: the worst. This is the injury: is that if the little girl doesn't feel safe because daddy isn't there or safe, right?
Hmm.
She she has to man up literally to protect
Yep.
herself. At the age
Yep.
of 5 forward, you've been there. I see you
Hmm.
man up, and what happens is it disallows you to grow into your femininity naturally. Where a little girl who feels safe can roll. You understand the logic of life, but it's like her mom is the mom is more nurturing, motherly. She can grow into her feminine essence naturally, and then on the other side of life, like there's a balance of both. This is what
Right.
we all struggle with: is we have to balance our masculine energy within each one of us
Right.
appropriately. So when you're ego dystonic, when you tip as a woman, tip the other way because you have to man up at 5. You become a masculine woman, you're bossy, you're controlling, you can't be vulnerable, you're trying to, manage everything, you overdo everything, you over
Yep.
nurture the world, you just pour out, you pour out, you pour out, which is what men do more naturally. And eventually you pour out, but you don't receive anymore. You're not able to receive
Yeah.
because you're stuck in your masculine, right? The
Yeah.
masculine doesn't receive well. The feminine needs to receive to give back, right? The flow is broken. And then
Yeah.
you become tired, resentful, angry. No one's ever helping you, but you're not asking for help. You refuse to ask for help because that's weak. So it's a shit show in the
It's a
making.
vicious cycle. Vicious
It's a
cycle.
terrible thing, right? And again, and then you go, it's him. So another relationship, another relationship, another relationship, another relationship, right?
Yep.
Break. And in my world, I've seen the top. I think what I see is women cannot sustain getting their hearts broken more than like 5 times, and then they give up. They can't trust
Yeah.
their heart. They can't trust themselves. They can trust their heart, and they just
Yeah.
give up. And they get cats and isolate and disappear. Literally, it's a terrible thing.
It's
It's
true.
not funny. And I see this. I'm in Los Angeles, right? There's a lot of disconnect here with masculine and feminine because the nature of the city and showbiz. So I don't want to explain. It's not important. But I go to the store, the food store, and I see woman after woman, women everywhere with their little basket with 6 things in it, right? There's a yogurt and apples, and you can tell they're not they're alone. They're alone.
Hmm.
And then you see the the other woman with the basket's up to here, right? Because she's like that family of 3, and she's shopping for the week, right?
Yes.
But there's lonely women everywhere, and like they're abandoned, feel like they let go of the possibilities of the companionship, partnership, and they're right. Like there's
Yeah.
something very heavy and dark about them. Same with men. When the men give up,
Yeah.
right, they become the creepy old guy in the building who scares the children. Like
Yeah.
energetically, we're not made to be isolated and alone.
No.
So again,
No.
the idea of getting your shit, excuse my French, but to get your traumas handled for you to actually have a life that is
Hmm.
fulfilling and connecting, because we're not made to be alone. We're better pair bonded. That's why we all keep going after it, going after it, going after it, going after it, and again we try again. It's
Yeah.
nature. But in the end, if we kind of lose it, but again, and there's data on this, like people who are in healthy love relationships of all ages are happier, make more money, are more productive, more what's the word, more
fulfillment.
fulfillment, but also like they're more creative. Like all
Hmm.
the goodies come from like helping each other, being together. So
Yeah.
even I'm in Los Angeles, right? Wealthy people who can get their love dynamics together, right? Who's successful feel unsuccessful in life. It's the primary driver of happiness. Your
Hmm.
relationship dynamic is the primary thing that calibrates the quality of your life.
True.
That's how big it is, and so that's why we keep going after it. Like how many times did I hear, "I'm done with men," right? From a woman, and 2 months later she goes, "This cute guy came to work today," and it starts, and it
Yep.
starts, and it starts. So we
Yep.
compel, we compel, we
Yep.
compel. It's instinct. I know. Let's clean your shit up, so you can actually get to get something healthy. Whew, I'm sorry.
No,
You got
preach it. It's good. It's good. And
preach.
the other dynamic that goes with this is how we've been raising men. And I know we kind of touched on this
Boy,
before we started the record. Yeah, I know that's a whole nother podcast,
boy.
but we can kind of touch on it. And it's true. I mean, we've taught them don't have any emotion, and go out there and just, like we aren't equipping men properly.
Well, there's part of that is an instinct, right? Like if I'm not going to reveal my weaknesses to anybody, right? I have to protect myself.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you could use that against me, and men don't
yes,
even reveal their strength. If I'm a black belt karate guy, I'm not walking around telling everybody. I'm going to wait for you to, do something wrong, and I'll surprise
right,
you, right? So there's an element of concealing for men that is natural, instinctual. It's protection, right? So
right.
I
Have
don't
it in your
get
back pocket so you can pull it out when you need it, right?
right, and or my weaknesses. I'm not going to tell you. You're going to use those
Right,
against me. Do you know what I mean? So there's an instinct to conceal,
right.
guarantee, right?
Interesting.
The
Okay.
feminine as an instinct to reveal, reveal, reveal,
True.
reveal. So see
True.
the two different mechanisms, masculine and feminine, right? This is
That's true.
instinctual. So what I see is not the problem that men are stoic and kind of keep things inside as much as culture we actually shame men out of being masculine nowadays, right?
Yes.
Don't need a woman, don't step in, don't make the plan, don't approach her, don't you're toxic, you're right. So the guys are like, okay, whatever. So that's to me the bigger problem because in relationship women will bring us into our hearts, will bring us into comfort, will get some kind of vulnerability, right? Like we need the feminine to actually kind of get there. So
Right.
but if you're ashamed of being a man, that means you don't get your life together, you don't conquer your fear, you don't step into building a character in some kind of difficult task as a business or be relevant in the world. If you shame men out of being masculine because they're toxic and dangerous and cheaters, they wilt, they don't do it. And then
Mm-hmm.
women are like, "We're all the good man because he's not, he's unable to take care of me. He's unable to take care of himself. He's unable, right? They want to play 50-50 shit because it's
Yeah.
popular. It doesn't work. So that's really to me the culture is boss babe for the ladies. So be as masculine as possible, and you get ahead in life and get on top of men. Doesn't work. Not in relationships. And sweet, sensitive, and vulnerable men don't make women feel safe. So these guys everyone loses. And again, in a day in an era where 50-50 equality is the game, because now
Mm.
it's more fair. In the realm of relationship, is the kiss of death. It doesn't freaking work, right? Like a man who's a man will not be led by a woman, but a feminine woman is happy for a man to lead and make her life easier. Do you know what I mean?
It's
Again, nature. Sorry.
no. It's interesting because I was sitting here thinking too. You're making me think a lot, and it's bringing up a lot of thoughts in my mind of kind of how I think, and I've done a lot of deep dives into this. But one of the things, I'll be honest with you, because my father was weak. My father, he, part of the abuse is he didn't protect me. Like one time when my brother was going off, and my brother was bigger than him, my dad literally physically ran and hid. I went
So
looking for him.
right,
I was, and it was his little boy. The little boy in him resurrect. I mean, it
I
was,
get it. I get
I
it. I
get
get it.
that. But at the time, I mean, I'm a little girl and I'm like, I'm going to find my dad to protect me. That's kind of crazy. So going into my adult life, and I recognize this probably about a couple of years ago in me, is that if my husband comes across as weak like that, oh,
Instantly lose respect for him.
absolutely,
You feel unsafe. He's not capable of
totally,
protecting you, and now he's like this, right? And the other way, it'll make your body go tense. You will feel
totally,
like right here. You'll get that.
totally.
Oh, now you can't breathe, right? And you're abandoned, you're
Yep.
alone, like you can't protect you. What you thought you had is gone
Yep.
as far as feeling safe, right? Because a
Yep.
woman doesn't feel safe, it's over.
Yep.
Men
Oh
don't
yeah.
men don't know this because we don't have that. So this is what doesn't work. Now again, you were patterned that way, you know,
That's interesting that you just said that about men, about women not feeling safe, and men don't have that. That's
at
interesting
all, at all. This is why we constantly freak you out because we don't have that on our radar.
because you know you can take care of yourself, right? Is that what it
Yeah,
is? Because
what
like
we no,
us,
it's a paradigm of being smaller and weaker sex, right? Because women are smaller and weaker, so men are bigger and stronger, right? It's always been. So in that is a certain the men who are toxic are the ones who damage to women. You know what I
right?
mean? Because
Yeah,
natural male provide, protect, cherish, give, support, everything,
right.
everyone, women, children, anybody who needs help. That's the natural masculine. But the boys who are the toxic ones who hurt, rape, cheat, lie, right? They're out there, and you know,
My
as a woman,
gosh,
because you're smaller and weaker, that you constantly, basically, have to check your environment for safety because
true.
there's these bad guys out there. Now, that's not most men, but it's out there enough for you to be constantly aware of it. So you're
Yeah.
smaller and weaker. Your nervous system is like, okay, so you're afraid of elevators, staircases. You run to the
Oh
car
yeah.
in the dark, right? You're afraid of parking lots, not because you're
Hmm.
crazy. It's because you're you know you're vulnerable, right?
Right.
But so that's physically vulnerable. Men don't have that at all. We are never are we concerned with our safety, physical safety. I'm the bigger one. I don't run to the car in the dark. I go to the car. I don't lock the doors when I
God,
start the
how
car. Like
nice.
we don't. I know. But see that. But again, because we don't have any sense of that, we don't know that you have that. You know what I mean? So when we're gentlemanly enough, we understand. I'll walk you to your car, right? Understanding that this gentleman
Yes,
thing to do. But most of you say, "No, I'm fine."
I got it. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah,
yeah. It's this. It's
right. So you won't let us, but my point is like, so you get none of it if you don't actually pull that string a little bit to bring a man into his gentlemanness, right? But as a rule, like we have no sense of that. We have no sense of
that's
that. So for
fascinating.
ladies, but so again, and it's four layers of safety for the ladies, not one. So physical safety, you're never without it. You're never without it. We have no idea. We don't get it. We have no sense of that, and sometimes we'll freak you out because we don't know. You think, what is church?
Yes,
What
we're
is
telling
church?
you we're walking into a dangerous situation.
Right. Right? What a joke. So emotion like physical safety, emotional safety,
Yeah.
that's the love connection that you need to have. If you don't have that, right?
Yeah.
So financial safety,
Hmm. Yep.
essential. Men have a whole different kind of thinking and approach and understanding of money that you do. Because for you, it's
True.
always like, what if we run out of money? What if doesn't
Yep.
work? What if, right? Save, save, save. You tuck it away, tuck it away. For us, we're like, dude, we'll make more money. I'm freaking,
Yes.
30, I'm
That's me and my
35 years
husband
old.
totally.
I'm 35 years old. I make money. I make 50 years or whatever. Like, we'll make more money, right? The
Yeah.
money is made to play with. So our approach to money is completely different. But so you have a huge hook with safety with money, and
Yeah.
the fourth one is spiritual safety, which, in
Hmm.
our culture right now, women are missing spiritual connection and safety with that because they're disconnected from spirit and God and don't
Right.
believe in anything. They believe in the almighty dollars. So they're disconnected spiritually and disconnected emotionally because they can't create healthy bonds with men. So they go into take care of myself. That
Yep.
means financially take care of
Yep.
myself so I could put a roof over my head and buy my car, but you don't ever really feel safe. If you get most women in our culture get 2 out of 4. This is why you're wigged out, tired, freaked out,
Hmm.
anxious. You don't feel safe. And the
Hmm.
only way to bring all that in, right? Spiritual safety, connect with spirit, knowing that you're protected, know, believe in God, can get a sense of, something beyond yourself as a woman. You're constantly protected. You have to believe that though and feel that and kind of connect to that, which is natural, by the way, right? The
Hmm.
right brain of a feminine woman connects to spirit as
Yeah.
as connection to the other side naturally. But if
Yeah.
you're in man mode, you left brain, that all goes away. So if you could cultivate your spirituality, feel safe in the world, right? And that is an emotional connection as well.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? So these are for most modern women are missing. They go to work and they pay their bills and they basically are never always aware of the fact that they're smaller and weaker and men are dangerous. That will keep you stuck into, I
Oh
call it
yeah.
cave woman mode. So you have to control everything. You can't relax. You can let go. You can't be vulnerable. You can't
Yep.
trust, right? You don't let men help because they're going to want something back from you. That's all crap.
Oh,
That's not true. That's not how men
so
do it.
true.
That's not how men do it, but that's what you think, right? So
Correct.
the disconnect here is insane.
And
But
that's been my
again,
experience. But
eh,
it's been my experience because of my past, and I hadn't
got it.
healed
Of
from it.
course. Yep.
So that
Right.
was my
So
experience.
the one that like the one that's driving you again is the physical safety. You're never
Yeah.
without it. I mean, there's
Yeah.
so much. There's such an instinct in that. You understand that most women get this. This is crazy, right? We're not. We think we're so beyond our instinct, but our instincts are driving us, both men and women, constantly. But
Hmm.
we are aloof to it. But most women cannot leave their house to go out in the world and or shopping or run errands. Cannot leave the house more than twice in one day.
I agree.
There's
That is
something
so
else.
true for
But
me.
do you know why? Do you know why? It's all women. Like
I
instinctively.
I'll tell you. No, I don't, and I do want to know because I'm. As soon as you said that, I'm like, that is totally me. Like
Right.
I gather it up and I go out once.
Yep. And then you go like, if back in the old days, if you like went carried food on your head in a basket kind of thing, right? What you do is you even go the farthest place to start
True.
your errands. You start
Yes.
with the farthest and make your way back home slowly
Correct.
by collecting everything else, right?
Right.
This is instinctual. Do you know why?
No, I'm curious because it is so instinctual with me.
It's all of you, all of us, really. But ours is different. We don't have that one. For you is every time you leave the house, who's watching? What are you
Yeah.
signaling? And then who's going to track your scent back to your house? If you don't have a man in the house, that is so your awareness of leaving and coming back makes you literally open to who's watching and you're
Yep.
vulnerable. So
Totally.
instinctively, you do one trip, you go from the furthest to the closest, and you close the door, and
True.
you're done. And you don't, you'll do it again tomorrow, but not today,
God,
right? Like
that's
so,
crazy.
instinctual, right? So we don't have that. So again, if you go back to like our instinct, hunter gatherer, what men go out in the world to conquer everything. We go back
Right.
and forth, back and forth,
It's
back and forth.
true.
There's no danger for us in that. But back and forth, actually, we come back to make sure you're good, right? Back and forth, back and forth. So men live this way, back and forth, and it's tantalizing to us. It's natural. That's how we conquer the world and come back. You ladies are more nest bounded, right? To
Yeah.
take care of the nest, the children, the
Yeah.
right, all the stuff that he requires to continue to do this. By the way, he has
Correct.
to come back to a place where the children are taken care of. There's some food, and and the things are in order, and the things are collected, and the other women are participating. Right, and we're talking in a tribe in the old days. We're
Community.
s- we're still exactly the same. So what happened is, instinctively, we just men who don't produce, men who aren't fighting, men who aren't going out there in the world,
Yeah.
or your ex-husband, right? Big fat limp noodles that you can't respect because they don't want to make the effort. They don't want to go and conquer
Hmm.
anything. They want to be comfortable, right? Anyway, so their trauma, I get it.
Yeah.
But instinctively, women like this, all this stuff is running you, and all this is running us that we're completely invisible to. And my favorite thing is to help women decode their own behavior. Like I
Yeah.
love that because we're reactive. Reactive. We talked about this, but
Totally.
emotionally reactive, but physically reactive, instinctively reactive, and often it will get in our way.
Oh, yes.
Because if you've been traumatized, you'll see danger in places that don't exist. And here we go again, right? So I could
That's
do this all day long.
fascinating because you are decoding stuff about me that I didn't even realize. I mean, you've got this experience because you've been working in this arena for so long, so you've seen
Yeah.
both sides, and so you've been able to pull this data together and say, "Here's the commonalities," and it's fascinating because that's totally me. I don't I don't like to leave the house much at all. I don't. I'm very
Yeah.
comfortable here. It's a bad habit, a little bit of a bad habit because I got to make myself get out sometimes.
But it's
But
instinctual for the
it
gatherer.
totally is. I feel,
It's
and this, but
safer,
see, and here's what I thought it was for me. This is what I thought it was for me. Because one of my messages growing up is not feeling safe in my
right?
home and having that security of a home. And for years, I didn't have that security. I now have it. And this is my sanctuary. I call it my sanctuary. This is our safe place, 100%.
This,
And we've created that, not just
yeah,
for us, but anybody that comes into our home as well. It's,
yeah.
it's our beautiful home.
But
And I like being
like,
here.
you don't understand. If you didn't have that, you'd be a wreck.
Yeah.
Because anything
Yes.
outside of that is unnatural, right? So women who
Yes.
work like women who go out of the cave, yeah, these are all my clients. they're disconnected, they're anxious,
Yeah.
they're nervous, they don't trust, they can't let go, they control everything. Like they're in their masculine so much, they can't even get home to relax. They get home and there's this anxiety in the house, literally, and they can't like they ended up carrying the load on everything.
Yeah.
And again, so the
We're
only
not
way
built for
that
that.
you're not built for that. Okay, so you could say it's not cool, it's not sexy, like blame God and nature. This is nature, right? So the what nature what's more in line with nature with a modern twist, 'cause it's not about doing going back to caveman, cavewoman, or the 50s even, right? But there's a paradigm that's more normal for him, that's tantalizing, that keeps him connected and fighting and pushing and conquering, for him to be proud of what he's producing in the world so he can take care
Yeah.
of you and his kids. Like this is more natural, this is more satisfying, this is more in line with his entire nervous system and his
Mhm.
well-being and his hormones. It regulates our hormones to be in that space. For you, you regulate your hormones by environment, nesting, community, children, friends, family. Also for women,
Yeah.
it's not money that makes you happy, it's the quality of your relationships, all your
Yes.
relationships. So
Totally.
that is more earthbound. This is more body conscious. Like it's more like with you and your own skin. We don't have that awareness. We're out there fighting and we'll die doing it, right? But for you, like there's a caring for yourself so you can care for others, your children, your grandchildren, the community, the other women. Like
Mhm.
it's nature. So,
Mhm.
when we get women to convince women that they have to be boss babes and act like men to be valuable, unless you produce something, you're really not worth anything. That's such crap,
Mhm.
right? And talk about production. If you're not productive, I can tell you a story that a client she had a 10-year-old special needs child, and he was in institution. So he worked and she worked. So they both were working, modern couple, whatever. But at one point, the institution says, we can't take care of him any longer. He's unbearable. We can't like physically take care of him any longer. You have to come and take him back. Like it's going to be on you to take care of him. The system cannot do it any longer. He's 10 years old. So
God.
she takes him home, but she has to quit her job because he requires full-time care.
Mhm.
And she goes into this huge depression
Mhm.
because now she's not productive. She's not bringing
Yep.
any money,
Yep.
right? And she's literally like kind of like her life is completely challenged. She's miserable, right? And I go, wait a second. You've made your husband makes enough money to carry the load. Absolutely. It's just I don't feel productive. Stop. What would be what would be more productive? Literally, if you tap into your nature, your nurturing essence, and to make sure that this child is taken care of.
Mhm.
He needs you like you're the only source. Like he needs you in a way that he can't do without you.
Yeah.
Your job will replace you in a week.
Yeah. True.
Where's the important, right? So like the idea of producing, that we can convince women is freedom. Sorry, like, and my clients are like paying for that, and they're kind of waking up to like that doesn't work for me because again, your nature, your essence as a woman, it's too hard, it's too much. The quality of relationships. So the idea of children who ruin your life is ridiculous. But get this, and you talk about being productive. What is the ultimate production that a woman can produce?
Mhm. Children.
This is what
A family.
this is what your bodies are made for.
Yeah.
You menstruate every month, we're calling you to produce life,
Right.
right? But if you're going to go live like men, all that goes away, and then you expect men still to be traditional and pay for you, even though you're boss babe and and you're masculine, and there's a disconnect there, and you resent
Yeah.
men for not showing up, but you're basically taking his place, not able to be in your place. Traditional men, by the way, get this, since men's jobs and roles have never changed. It's never changed. We're still expected to go conquer the world, do something difficult, like build your character, be a good guy, provide, protect, cherish, give support, lead, right? Like we're expected to do this. Our role has never
Mhm.
changed. It's never changed through the past 50 years. But the past 50 years, we raised women to refuse to be traditional.
Yeah.
So what
Yeah.
happened is these guys are very traditional. We all are basically raised to be traditional. If you're going to get your stuff together and be relevant in the world, build something that's difficult so you can get respected by both men and women, but also have some self-respect and some confidence. That's what's sexy. You know what I mean? But like that's very traditional, but we teach women for the past 50 years to refuse to be traditional or to not be traditional or to resist being traditional because you want to be productive like men. So these guys walk away and they're looking for traditional women who are typically
Right.
more feminine, in line with wanting to be wives and mothers. They're everywhere still, right? The ones who are suffering is the one who fell on the other side. Not their fault, childhood, trauma, right?
Yeah.
Culture, and or daddy who, I think that's your story. A lot of father not understanding you raise a boy different than you raise a girl.
Mm-hmm.
If you raise a girl to be productive as a father, right, you're signaling to her that unless she's productive, she's not worth of being loved.
Right.
So that's an injury, right? And so there you go in the culture. Like, so that woman is the same thing. Like, she was raised that way. If she's not
Mm-hmm.
productive, she's useless.
Yeah.
But she pivoted, she got it, and then ended up really enjoying and valuing her life for being a mother to this child, and appreciating the fact that her husband can carry the load, and this is her child. Like,
I
what's
know.
more important than that?
I know.
But I mean,
I
she
know.
had to. I had to walk her there. This is how upside down we all are,
That was her blind spot. She didn't see it.
completely. But
Yeah.
again, raised to be productive. Okay,
So I think, in talking about this, I'm in agreement with you. But we're going to have listeners who are going to be upset about the whole traditional
that's okay.
kind of, right?
That's
And
okay.
and then we do have people who are in situations that they can't be in that traditional role. Their lifestyle right now, no matter how bad they want it, you've got, you know, situations where they can't. Maybe both parents have to work right now.
Mm,
How does a couple, because what I'm hearing is both these roles are just out of balance. They're completely out of balance
oh,
is what's
that's
happening.
all.
When any
Yep.
And I am a firm believer and we need balance in our life, and it's a juggling act every single day, right?
Yeah.
Every single day we're balancing ourselves and we need
Yep.
to work on that. And these roles are, and that's what's happened, is these roles have gone completely out of balance, and that's why these people, they're
We new
suffering. And I know
we
I've lived that.
neutralize. Yeah, we
I've lived
neutralize
that.
the role.
Right.
We
And
neutralize the
so
role. It doesn't work.
how would a couple who, let's just talk about a couple right now, like they both have to work, they have children at home, they're listening to this and they're like, yeah, we're out of balance, I think, but I don't know how to turn this around to get myself to get us both balanced, because both of them are going to have to work on it,
Of course,
right?
it's like I said, that's the basic of the relationship. Like, what are we both willing to do in order for us to
Right.
get to where the life that we want to have? Well, so simply enough, I'm going to say this is going to be something to think about. It's really profound, I think, because nobody's freaking thinking about it. What happened is if he works and he works and she works, right, which is standard how we meet when we're younger, right? Because girls go to school then get career, right? So he works and you work, and if you manage to be polarized enough that you want to come start a family together, right? Typically, what happens is how people get trapped, right? They end up collecting both sides of the money, raise their lifestyle, buy a
Yep.
big house that one salary cannot sustain,
Right.
buy two fancy cars in a good neighborhood, right? So basically, you adjust your lifestyle per what's coming in from both sides. That disallow the woman to stop working sometime
Yep.
to have a child
Yep.
for 2 3 years. Do you know what I mean? This is how people get trapped. So it's not like
True.
it's a complete myth that you need both two salaries if you understand the mechanics and the math of it. You know what I mean? Like, you could live and on one salary and actually as a feminine could work, like I think my wife has the perfect lifestyle, right? I do most of the grunt work out there, right? But she's a ballerina,
Mm.
so as a ballerina, she teaches in the colleges twice a week, part time.
Oh.
And so she was there. She lives her dream. She's still
Yeah.
dancing. That's her dream. She's mentoring those kids in college, these like young adults, right, into their dream. And so she's living her passion as a woman. She's
Mm.
productive part time. And then the
Beautiful.
rest of the time, she's the one that could pick up the kids at 3 o'clock because I'm working till 7, right? Like,
Right.
so if I had to pick up the kids at 3, my production would drop, right? But together, you see what I'm saying? So
Yes.
she's productive, she's mothering, she's my wife, she takes care of the house, the kids, and all the safety because I'm 12-hour days away from home. That's right. But so she's still productive, but gentle, right?
Yeah.
She gets that. This is having it all, by the way. So she's living her dream, has a husband, 2 kids, and a good home, and I take care of all the logistical stuff, and she connects all of us together. That's the
Yeah.
feminine essence. So that's having it all, right? Suzanne Vanker, which is another person I do a lot of podcasts with, has the same story. She says the only way she was a writer for Fox News, she became a coach herself, and she goes, the only way that my life got to be everything that it is now is because I could pull out anytime I
Yeah.
wanted and take care of the kids and then pull
Yeah.
back into work because my husband
Oh,
had the load. And I pulled out and pulled in my whole life and I kept adjusting to the things I wanted because the space for him to support me that I could actually go to school and learn some new skills and then go into it part time and pull in, pull out. Pull it. That's feminine and that's
yeah.
having it all, right?
Yeah.
To be protected, to be safe, to have a man who does all the grunt work. He likes it, makes him proud as you flow through the things that you want to produce out there in the world, put
Right.
forward, right? My wife. So that's the gold ticket, the golden ticket. That's having it all.
Mm-hmm.
It's not 35 years old making $100,000 and realize you're lonely and men don't like you because you're too much too masculine. So
Well,
having it all later does not work. Is what I'm
yeah.
saying. It's
and
another
having and
fallacy.
having all the material things. I mean, we live in a country where material things makes our identity. I
Yep.
haven't arrived unless I have this big beautiful home and two nice cars sitting out front.
And keep up with the Jones, right? Like
Ugh,
it
ugh,
does
ugh.
again. Everybody's doing it. I mean, all
Yeah.
around me, and even my siblings, they just living outside their means, because they have all this coming in, and they get trapped and not be able. The woman is then trapped and not be able to be a woman, a mother. Like it's just okay. So, and again, it's not that it's essential. It's harder nowadays in our culture, but it's not impossible. There's a myth. The book by Suzanne Vanker is the myth of the dual income family. It's a myth.
Mm,
If you consider what it takes to have a second income, right, which means another car, another insurance,
yeah.
right, the child care, like if you
Oh
crunch the
God, that's
numbers,
outrageous.
if you crunch the number, you're not getting ahead with a second job. So, but you have to readjust your lifestyle, right, in order to have a couple of kids and for the woman to be able to be in or feminine in and out, productive, but not balls to the wall.
Yeah. And, like someone like me, and I know a lot of my listeners, because we're talking about childhood abuse here,
Yep,
we're in survival mode. And I
that's
can
what I'm
tell you
saying.
for many years, that's where I was at.
Yep,
And you do things in survival mode you would not do outside of survival mode. And it
yep,
also completely shuts down you to be able to see anything else because you're literally living for that next moment, like
yep,
literally. And I
yep,
did that for years.
yep.
And, you and I were talking about this before the recording, and I think it's really important to bring it up. You made a really good point too, is that takes a toll on us, and especially us women. When I'm out of balance, and I was for years and years and years, and I was absolutely in the masculine energy because I started that at a very young age because I had to learn to take care of myself because nobody else was going
No,
to protect me.
there
So
you
I
go.
got into relationships, same thing, where I have to take care of myself. Not only do I have to take care of myself now when I'm in relationships, I have to take care of everybody
Yeah,
else
yeah, and him.
and him.
That's that's a tragedy, right? Like that's
It's
the worst. Anyway, go ahead.
it's him. And so I was full. So that just threw me deeper, deeper, not only into survival mode but victim mindset. And then
Yep,
it started taking a physical toll on me. It literally started taking a physical toll, and that's when I started slowing down, going, wait, what's going on?
yep.
And that's it was right around that time that I started to really look within myself and really start to be able to do the deep healing within me to change things. But the damage all those years, I'm paying for it right now.
Absolutely, absolutely, absolutely. We know this because it kind of like so men have testosterone to push, compete in the world, and conquer everything. Ladies have very little testosterone, right? We have like 15 to 30 times more. Like so, with the
Yeah,
jet fuel, we're built for that. We have the jet fuel for that. That's the rah, the crazy
yeah,
drive and right to conquer. You don't have testosterone. So what happened is that flight and flight mode kicks in when you're in survival mode, just fight and flight, and you get your energy from adrenaline.
yep,
So every time you have to produce something, squirt, squirt
yep,
adrenaline in your bloodstream, squirt, squirt. That's an anxiety, right? That's an
true,
anxious energy. That's not a productive energy as much as it's an
correct.
anxiety producing energy, right? And we now know this. This is like the data again that a woman in that mode, masculine mode, fight and flight mode, adrenalize, we call it
Yeah,
constantly. We now know that adrenaline in your bloodstreams for 20 years plus burns out all your organs. So
Yep.
we now call that lifestyle cancer training for women.
Yeah, you said that earlier, and it's so true. Same thing with and this is very
Terrible.
common, unfortunately, with people with trauma, childhood trauma, and abuse, is that they're susceptible to autoimmune diseases. So
All
MS,
kinds of crap. All
rheumatoid
kinds of crap.
arthritis,
Which
fibromyalgia, however you
what
say that.
whatever is like weak on your body, because we all have weaknesses,
Correct.
is what it attacks. My sister, it attacks her lung.
Oh
You know what I
God,
mean?
yeah,
Some of
yeah,
the people is cancer, like all kinds
yeah,
of cancers create from that adrenaline in the blood. We know this is called
yeah,
adrenal burnout syndrome.
yeah,
And you're on your way to burning out and really getting physically sick. That's going to stop you from that fight and flight or man mode, right? When you are unable to sleep through the night,
yeah.
that's the first caller, right? If you can't sleep through the night, right, and when you wake up you can't get to sleep, and or if you sleep but in the morning you're not feeling refreshed,
Mm-hmm.
you are burning out,
Mm-hmm.
right? You're burning out. That's one of the first teller, right?
Mm-hmm.
Cold symptoms, hair loss, rashes, dry eye
Stomach.
syndrome, dry some gut, right? All the stuff stress related that starts destroying your body. Not
Yeah.
cool, right?
I
So
was
again,
always tired.
back to nature,
Yeah.
right? Do less, let him do more, right? Let
Find the
him make you more.
balance.
Find the balance. Help find a man who's going to be a man. That's going to be able to get you into a comfortable space where you still get to be productive as at your own pace. You know, to
Yeah.
be feminine is to be in the flow, not forcing, not schedule, not
Correct.
grinding. It's in the flow, and in the
Correct.
flow, you get to be feminine, warm, lovely, connecting, beautiful. Like all the goodies come from being in a space. Your femininity is present in that space. Not when you're anxious and stressed out.
Right.
When you burn
Yes.
out, when you burnt out, everything lovely about you is out the window,
Oh yeah.
and you literally disappear from our radar because when you burn out, there's nothing lovely about you. I mean, say right, like there's no, so it's actually pushes us back.
Right.
Where
Right.
when you're feminine and you're vulnerable and you go, I'm really stuck. Whew, man, come in.
Right.
What you need? What you
Right.
need? What you need? Again, it's nature again. But
Right.
again, not understanding any of this, a lot of people have themselves in a really in a pickle, not knowing how to get out of it. But honestly,
Yeah.
it's not that hard. It's not that hard when you get it.
Right. And when talking about knowing what each other wants, in one of your pillars that you talk about is communication, and that's so important. And it's not too late to ever have a conversation, to sit down. It's going to be awkward and uncomfortable if you've been going at this for a long time, but it's
Yep.
always a good idea. Just start. Like, I was starting to say earlier, I was always exhausted and I couldn't figure out why. At first I thought, well, I smoked cigarettes, right? I smoked cigarettes till I was 24, and I thought, oh, that's what it is. I'm just not getting enough oxygen. Okay, I quit smoking, and yet I'm still
Same thing.
exhausted.
Yep.
I was exhausted, and I look back. Well, yeah, I was in survival mode. Of course, I'm going to be exhausted all the time. Um, and so I think I might have lost my point of where I was going with this, but
Adrenaline, cortisol destroys everything on a woman. It just
it
does.
does. It does. And the fortunate thing, I think, for me, and I was talking to another guest this week about this, is that, or last week, like, I think what saved me from getting maybe the physical, like the diseases and stuff, is because I've always been super active. So I've been able to kind of get that trauma out physically out of my, yeah.
Yep. Yep.
And
Yep.
so,
Yep.
like, I've always danced or worked out, or I was always some form of being
Active.
active. It was my voice that got shut down. And so, but I always walked around super tense and tightened up. And so, and because I was active, guess what I did? I tore up all kinds of stuff on my body. I can't tell you how many surgeries. And then along with that comes the shame, but now I'm just like, no, I was in survival mode. That's why I did all that. And I've had to have surgery if I wanted to keep walking or if I wanted to keep
Mm,
functioning.
mm, mm, mm.
And now, I'm in a different place in my life, and I'm recovering from all the damage I did. And that is the goal of this podcast, is to get this information out there so people aren't suffering for 20, 30, 40, 50 years
Ah,
or more.
right.
Because what I know is statistic to be true is people who are abused often keep their mouth closed for 40 years before they will even share for the first time. They're suffering for
Yep.
40 years. Imagine the damage done in that 40 years.
Hey, that's my work. That's what I
Yeah.
encounter every day, right? And it's nobody's fault.
No, no.
Circumstances, poor parenting, and then actively just step into, I'm going to survive. And we have the energy in our 20s and 30s, for women especially, right, to kind of blow through the pain, blow through the past, blow through the trauma, right? Men too, that blow through the trauma,
Yep.
except, and everybody, this is actually really interesting to me. Everybody gets a chance midlife to fix your shit.
Yeah.
Everybody. You hit the
Reset.
wall, and you hit the wall, and like stuff that you could push through when you were 20 and 30, you can't push through physically as a woman. And for men, it's emotionally. They hit the wall, and then they seek some help.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful because we all have a chance midlife to get your shit fixed, and so you can
It's
live
true.
the life that you're supposed to have, as opposed to stuck in the past, right? Stuck in the past and the bad memories and a bad subconscious belief that had nothing to do with you.
Right.
You were surrounded by bad people or lame people or whatever. We
Yeah.
took that personally. We take that personally. We think that's our lot in life. It's not. It's
And
terrible.
it's
So
never
that
too late.
it's never too late. It's fixed. That means most people get it in midlife.
Hmm.
They hit the wall midlife, and then either you do it or you don't. And if you don't,
Right.
then you're doomed to continue a miserable
Correct.
life. But we all get a chance. It smacks you right in the head, and it's like, it's all on you. What you gonna do?
It's true. I mean, it
Fix your
wasn't,
life.
and I've heard this before, and it's so true. It's like we're not responsible for what happened to us as children, but as adults, we are responsible for what we do with it.
Absolutely. You're not responsible for the trauma of your childhood, but as an adult, it's your responsibility to handle your crap
Right.
and get yourself fixed right, right? Like it's one of the I had a man I'm at the gym 5 days a week, so the guys come at me, they know what I'm up to, right?
Yeah.
So, and one guy's like, got a he's a boy. He got his girlfriend pregnant. She has to work, so they're doing the shit show, right? They're gonna be stuff that's gonna like she's gonna resent him so quickly because he
Yeah.
doesn't
Yeah.
work and he's soft, and she's in the survival mode. And
Hmm.
he's like, "I got her pregnant." I'm like, really? Like, are you just like doing it on purpose? Like, are you like, how much trauma and how
Yeah.
much like hurt and pain do you want to keep, building? And he goes, well, because I'm kind of fucked. I go, unfuck yourself, motherfucker. Like,
Yeah.
it's time to unfuck yourself. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, you're right, you're fucked, but you got to man up. You got to step up. You got to do something. You got to protect her. You got to protect that kid. You got to make her feel safe. You got to get to work and handle your stuff. Like you have a kid coming now. It's not about you.
It's
And I
so
think
true that we do that. We have something come at us like that, and we just go, "Oh, okay, well,
I guess that's
I'm
what I
I'm
got.
stuck with this," and don't even try to make it a better situation.
Mm. I know
Not
it's
seen.
and on men it's really unattractive. You know what I mean?
It
Like
is.
to play victim, to play weak, to play like how many guys again because the culture has them shamed out of being masculine, so they
Yeah.
lean back and also no daddy role models, so they don't know how to be men. So
Right.
they're feminized. They're too much in their feelings. They talk too much. They don't lean in. They don't know how to be men. They don't know what's appropriate, right? And I go like I do a lot of men's work, and I've been in men's mentoring programs that I lead with other men, and these are all the guys that are coming. They feel weak, they feel powerless, they're depressed, they're
Yeah.
anxious because of it, right? Like a woman working too much, a guy not working enough. It's the same reaction, by the way. Same
Yeah.
depression, same anxiety, and same damage on the body long term. And but like stupid stuff like, so I don't have a job. Why don't you get a job? Well, I don't feel like it. Wow. They say this out loud. Like, I don't feel like it.
Well, at
Why'd you
least they're
get
being
fired?
honest.
No, but because that's why they're there in the group, right? Trying to get their life together. But like they're so feminized, they leave through their feelings, and they wonder why life is difficult. And like, so that's where we go into like, unfuck yourself, dude. It's on you.
Yeah.
You're the man. You have the testosterone in the balls. Go conquer
Yeah.
your fears, conquer your trauma, conquer everything you have to conquer, so you can actually get some self-respect and be able to be respected by the men and women out there in the culture. Like, it's like do the hard work, and this is when the rewards come in, and the whole world
Yeah.
goes, "Wow, way to go, you did it! Wow, way to go!"
Yeah.
Right? That's that's a good goal to shoot for, right? As opposed to being passive, letting go, and I don't feel like it.
Giving up.
You don't understand how hard it is for me, really. I don't understand how it's hard. Yeah, you're right. I've never been through anything hard. I just my whole life has been a gift. Get the hell
Yeah.
out of here. We all have to do it, right? I don't feel like it. Doesn't cut it for man.
Well, and we have beaten men down pretty hard,
That's what I'm saying.
and then
Yeah.
now we're turned off by
Oh,
them because they're,
too
they're not
soft. They're
strong men.
too
Yeah,
soft.
they're too
They're
soft.
too
Yeah.
soft. We can't
Yeah, I
respect a soft man. Nobody can respect a soft man. Men don't, and women sure don't feel safe with them because who's going to
no.
protect me? Not him. And if you consider your safety is constantly on your radar, that's why
It
they get
is.
friend zone. And the guy's like, I don't understand. I'm a nice guy. No, you're weak. That
Yeah,
doesn't work.
yeah. Yeah.
You got to step
You
it up, dude. You have to step it up.
so true. You have really enlightened me to a lot of stuff today, just kind of how men are and men think. And I thought I knew men pretty well. I, got a little
Mhm.
history under me, but it's really interesting just how different, you think, and just, and our roles. And I am 100% there with you that we each have our roles. We each have our gifts and we each
Mhm.
have our roles. And it doesn't diminish either side by doing that. What it does is when we come together, it's magical. And I know, because, yeah, I'm experiencing that for the first time in a relationship in my marriage
Yep.
now. And I'm not bragging. It's taken both of us, and it's not perfect, but it's taken both of us. And we started communicating very early in the relationship, which was very different than what I was used to. I was used to just jumping in with both feet and then way
Yep.
down the road talking about what I want. But instead, we talked about it up front, like what our end goals were, what we wanted in life. And even though I wasn't sure of everything I wanted, there were certain things I was very sure about. And for the first time, I had a voice. And we've entered this, and we have a respect for one another that when we don't agree with each other, we sit down and we talk about it. I might need a minute. I might say, hey, give me a minute.
Yeah.
I need to process
Take your
and come back.
corners.
Yeah.
Take your
Go to my
corners.
corner.
Get neutral, energetically come back neutral and have a
Right.
conversation. That's called adult to adult, by the way.
Right. Because I know that when I'm triggered, how ugly I can get. And that's not something I ever want to do to
Yep.
anybody, and especially my
No,
husband.
I always say that do not argue. Why are you yelling? Why arguing? It's
That's
ridiculous.
all I
Because
did in my first marriage.
what happens, you're gonna keep elevating it. You know,
Yes,
you'll say stuff that you can't take back.
exactly.
You know what I mean? It's damaging
Exactly.
forever. Like, no, I go, this tension, you go, okay, hold up, corners,
Yep.
right? You get neutral, go take a bath, then go take a walk or take a drive, come back neutral an hour later and go, whew, how did we get there?
Yeah.
What happened? Right,
Yeah.
adult to adult. That's what normal people. That's what healthy people do, right? Like they adult to adult. They don't shame or blame. They go, "How do we get here? I was just
Yeah.
saying this, and you just went. It reminded me of my dad when he did this. You know this about me. Oh, damn, I forgot. I'm so sorry. I'm
I
so
you
sorry.
know, I love one of my husband's sayings when we finally come back together, and sometimes, I've gotten triggered, right? And so I'm like, whoop, give me
Mm,
a minute.
yep.
Right? And I'll come back and he'll say, I don't understand why you got so upset about that one thing. Because my husband, I call him my normal, because he was raised in a healthy family and he doesn't have the stuff that I have. So I call him
Yeah.
my normal. So I have to
Yeah.
test stuff with him, right? And so he's like, and to him, and I love that he says this to me, because he'll say, I don't understand. And he'll give me his perspective, right?
Mhm.
And then I go, interesting, because I understand his perspective. And I go, okay, let me tell you my perspective. And then I share with him, and it's usually some kind of weird trigger in me or something, right? And he's
Always.
like, okay, that makes total sense. That's communication. So
Right.
going forward, there's not that there anymore. Like, I understand his point, he understands my point. We find our meeting ground and we go
Yep.
forward. Where in my first marriage, it was scream, scream, and you're right, it escalates. Oh, you said that to me? Okay, well, I got to
Yeah.
double up on that one. And then
Yep.
and it turns and it was a constant screaming match. And
Yep.
I was right there. And I can remember in my head going, this is making no sense that you're standing here screaming. Your son probably hears everything you're saying. Stop. And I couldn't.
Reactive as opposed to rational.
Totally.
That's what most people do.
Yeah.
You have to catch it. Like,
Yeah.
there's no need to get reactive. And did he mean to trigger you? Probably not. You
No.
got triggered, fine. It's same back and forth, right? We do it to each other. That's kind of the point of healing is take your sides, come back. You know, when you said that, that made me feel terrible. And,
Right.
well, that's not what I meant. Well, that's what happened to me. How, and then decode it a little bit and go, then you have a chance to have an explanation for the behavior or the words and or an apology.
Right.
And then it's clean.
Right.
Done.
And what's so important about that pause is, and I've talked about this a lot on my podcast, is when we're triggered, we go from zero to over the top.
Right.
And that upset doesn't match what's going on in the situation.
Right. It's always over the top.
It's always
Right.
always and I can remember I can take myself there. I can take myself to those feelings and it's just I'm completely out of control. I feel
Yep.
and the more I try to control, the more out of control it's getting.
Yeah, and this is when we look at you and think you're completely freaking crazy because
Yes.
you make no
Bingo.
sense. You're overreacting. You're irrational. You're out of it. You know what I
Yep.
mean? And so women think men are cold and shallow.
Yep.
We think you're crazy
Correct.
out of the reactiveness. So
Right.
adult to adult, take your corners. Don't yell. You'll get
Mm-mm.
triggered. It's normal, right? Take a breath. Get back and go. How do we get there?
Yeah.
When
Yeah.
you said this, that's what happened to me. When you did this, what happened to me. When this
Right.
happened, this is what happened to me. Right? And again, if you understand a little bit your past, most people are still oblivious to it. That's part of the
Yeah.
work. Finding out really your triggers, like why you have those triggers, as
Right.
opposed to just react them. Then you could understand again. When the other one understands, oh, I didn't mean to. I'm
Yes.
so sorry. I didn't mean to. I'm so sorry. Right? Or, oh yeah, you told me about this. But that's not on their radar. It's on your radar, right?
Right.
And so that's the conversation. That's the point. That's called being
Right.
adult, right?
Right.
Take responsibility for your actions and your emotions. Take a breath, take a beat, come back, and eye to eye. If you care for each other. By the way, again, I said that earlier. It's in a conflict resolution. We have conflicts that will happen. It's not as life is beautiful and good. That means it's the right person. It's in the if we both love each other and have each other's back, right? Truly,
Mm-hmm.
in the conflict resolution, this is when we actually could talk that we just talked about, right? And sort of come together. And the fact that because I have your back and you have mine, right? We have both each other's interests at mine. We resolve the damn thing. And what
Mm-hmm.
happened is we get tighter. And again,
Yeah.
another
True.
conflict gets tighter, and we get tighter and tighter and tighter and tighter. So it's in the
It's true.
conflict resolution that we create a bond that lasts forever, not in the everything's la di da. It's the exact
Right.
opposite. You have to do it like an adult, though. You have to do it right. You have to do it fairly. You have to like control your emotion and get a little bit. Take a breathe, come back rational. And if it gets elevated again, whoo, no, hold on, we're
Yep.
not doing that. Come back. Ooh, why? So and decode it. In
Yep.
the end, like I'm telling you, this is what relationships becomes.
So true.
People that have been together 50 years that are so bonded because they've managed to do this. When one dies, the one follows because they literally are so intertwined.
Yep.
They can't be without each other, and it's
Yep.
beautiful. And
Yeah.
that's the point, and that's the healing of every relationship. The person you're attracting is here to teach you your lessons, and it's for you both to jump in and work out your crap together. It's
So true.
it's not the person, it's us together. It's your stuff and his stuff. Like it's all, and it's funny they're constantly pulling at each other. One of my
Mm-hmm.
clients, he feels he was adopted at birth, so he's not good enough. He's never gonna be good enough. And he proved his entire life that he's not good enough as a child, as a young man, as a father, as a husband, right? So now he's 53 and he still carry around this I'm not good enough because he proved that his whole life. His girlfriend, my client, has been neglected by her dad and abused in kind of crazy ways. So her thing, what's driving her is I'm not lovable. So when you have I'm not lovable meet with I'm not good enough, the moment he feels like he's not good enough, she criticizes him, let's say, right? The little thing, poof, he goes cold, he goes back. She feels abandoned, poof, she goes back.
Oh my God.
Right? You see it? But that's their trigger is
That was my
perfect
first
together.
marriage.
Their trigger is perfect together because the idea
Yeah.
of you don't get away from each other, you come back and you
Yeah.
fix it because this is the otherwise you're gonna dump that person, you're gonna go do it again, exact same story with somebody else. So
Yeah.
it's in the damn relationship and the conflict and to be adult enough to to step in and like adult and converse, talk about it, decode it, right? Fix it, apologize and or understand toot, 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 toot. So these
Yep.
two are going to make it, even though their trigger is exactly so
Yeah.
together they're going to heal each other. This is what relationships are for us to heal our crap. It's not
Yep.
random. And again, you otherwise you keep attracting the same type of man and woman,
Yep.
and then you're gonna go prove yourself right. See, they're all crazy. See, they're all don't care. They're all cold. They're all cheaters. You name it. Just
Yeah.
whatever's in your head, you'll go get it. It's crazy. Like our subconscious is so powerful. I'm just I know we could do this all day long, right? But I like the radar when we create a thought, right? It becomes so part of our nervous system, right? That you have a radar in the back of your head, part of the lizard brain, right? That that literally kind of picks up energy. So an example of this is like if you think you're not lovable and you attract guys that are toxic, right? Right? So it's let's say that's your story. I have a party in my house and I bring all my boyfriends, right? My man that I know that are all good guys, no toxic, no shitty, no player, none of that stuff. All good men, as I, right? And there's 50 of us in the house, and you come in with, right? I'm not lovable. So 49 guys that are great guys, one who's a douchebag or a player or right. And if I leave you walking around my house within 1 hour, I will find you talking to that one guy.
Yep.
That's how powerful our like nervous system
So
is.
true.
So the radar is always trying to prove what you believe, and
Yeah.
that's a danger. It's
Yeah.
a similar thing as if you buy a new white Tesla, all of a sudden you realize how many white Teslas there are. Like
Yeah.
you never know that. So your awareness, right? So whatever you focus on is
That
where you
is
go
what you're
out to
going to get.
prove. And that's the tragedy of our human brains. When I get
Yeah.
to heaven one day, right? And hopefully not soon. I'm gonna go, really, what's that about? What the hell
Yeah.
kind of design? What kind of design is that? Right? That's not good. Animals don't do that.
Yeah.
They
That's
move
true.
on. They move on.
Us dumb humans do that.
Ah, what is that about? Anyway,
I
so
know,
it's
it's true.
it's
Well,
tragic.
and like I said, when I did my timeline in my life a few years ago and I put my whole timeline together, it made complete sense why I ended up in all the relationships that I did, and I behaved the way I did and reacted the way I
Yep.
did. And I did damage too. It's not that I was just this victim and everybody. I did a lot of damage in my pain as
Takes
well. And
two. Takes two.
dang,
But again, same thing. Like we actually are triggering exactly what the other one is triggered by.
right.
This is why we come together. This is why we're attracted to each other.
Yeah.
Most don't
Yeah.
understand this. Most people don't understand this. It's the wrong
Yeah.
person because we're triggered. No, it's actually the right person.
Yeah. I know. Ooh.
Step in. That's the point. Step in.
Yeah.
Get some help.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, this has been great. I mean, yeah, you're right. We could go on for hours and hours and hours. I mean, there's just so much about this. It's so true, and
And
and I
considering
see I
you
see
asked me
so
two
much of what you're
questions.
saying in my life.
Yeah, yeah. No,
What were
it's
you saying?
to me.
Sorry.
I said, you asked two questions. We talked for 2 hours. You know what I mean? There's like 900 things we could talk about in
Oh
the
yeah,
fine tuning of this. Also, there's much conversation here. There's just I find delightful. This is why I'm still researching everything, because I'm still finding ways to decode, understand, explain, say differently, right?
yeah,
But
yeah.
like,
You really
as a,
broke it down really well, and I love it. And I know this might rub some listeners wrong, but I mean I agree with you that we each have our roles. We each have our gifts. I call them gifts,
yeah,
and we're meant to come together and put this stuff together. And like you say, connect and work together with each other.
yeah.
Um,
So what people think I say, and it's not what I said, and thank you for bringing that up, right? They think I say, he's got to be the man, you got to be the girl. He's got to be tough, and you got to be passive, and
right,
he's got to lead, and you just shut up and like just make some babies and cook. That's not what I'm saying,
right.
right? Like I come from a background of dancing, as we talked about. Look behind me. This is my wife and I ballroom dancing.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Now that is a relationship, right? And
Oh,
what happened is what
yeah.
I lead, and she follows. Now,
True.
it's not black and white, by the way. Because get this. Again, this is relationships. This is a beautiful model. This is
Ooh,
why.
I love this.
So, as a leader, right, I also have to lead with sensitivities. Because as a leader, I could tell you, I could hurt her, I could crank her, I could like crank her shoulder, I could like over lead, right? This is
Right.
what masculinity tends to be, right? Men in the world, when they're big and controlling, they go too far, and you're uncomfortable, and then you can trust them, right? So, as a male, as a normal male, my job is to lead the dance with sensitivity. So I have to be very aware of her, how I pull with her hands, how she's responding. I'm
Yeah,
very aware of that. So as I direct, I'm also rearranging and redirecting and adjusting to her comfort. So I'm a
that's so
man who
true.
leads. I'm a man who leads with sensitivities. That makes a good balance of masculine and feminine. Get this. On the other side, women think follower, right? It's just passive. It's just. You think she's passive in my
Mm-mm. She
arms?
can't be passive.
She has to hold her frame. She's doing everything
Yes.
backwards in high heels in a dress. It's not easy. It's not
Yeah.
easier, right? But what happens is what is because she trusts me that she's not going to get hurt, right? She could literally let go of control, which is
It's true.
masculine. When she lets go of control, she's vulnerable to my leadership. But because we have a history of I'm sensitive to her needs and I know how to drive her and lead her gently, right, effectively, but in a way that she could relax and trust me that she's not going to get hurt or spin into a table and a couple of right. There's a letting go of control. The moment she lets go of control, she's completely free. And what happened is I'm leading, she's receiving, responding. We're like intertwined completely together. We communicate
Yeah.
with fingertips. We communicate with fingertips without words. And guess what happened? I'm proud to lead because I'm gonna take her on an adventure on the dance floor. She lets go, trusts me, and what happened is she radiates, and
Yes.
no one's looking at me, and that's
It's
not why
true.
I'm trying, right? I'm just doing the work for her to radiate, and the yin yang of it is beautiful. This is what I'm saying. So when I talk
Wow.
about masculine and feminine roles, we both have masculine and feminine within us. We have to adjust within us. If I have to be more masculine to do this than feminine, she has to be more feminine to receive me,
Yeah.
right? But she still has a masculine paradigm to hold her space, to hold right, to make things
Right.
work.
She's strong.
So
She's
it's
strong.
it's a balance of both. But do I lead more? Yes. Does she
Yeah.
support more? Yes. Again, relationships. So by the way, 30 years with my wife, it's not me leading and her following. We have all these things we negotiated in between,
Correct.
right? It's not as rigid as a dance, right? Like ballroom dancing, it's like there's stuff that I do. That I do all the masculine stuff in the cars and the house and the repair and the fixing and stuff. But there's also stuff that I love cooking, right? It's considered so I'll cook, right? She didn't like
Hmm.
cooking, right? Like so, like there's things that we negotiated within that are all masculine and feminine because we both have both. So how do we work this together, right? I don't really want to take that on. Do you want to take it on? I don't. Oh, sure, I'm good at that. So this really makes me crazy. You want to, right? I don't want to take care of that, you know. Yeah. And we kind of have this system of we know we know our places for the things that
Right.
we want to bring forth, and we negotiated them. So
You communicate.
there's still a masculine and feminine dance with all the flex in between.
Yeah. God, that's a perfect example. That is a perfect example. And I'll tell you, as someone who's a dancer, I'm not a dancer like you, not professional. I
Yeah.
love to dance. And I used to do a lot of two step and waltz.
Yep.
And there's such a difference in a I don't probably won't say this right,
A
but a
leader,
strong man, a strong lead
a
as
lead.
opposed
Yep.
to a weaker lead.
Yep.
And as soon as I would there's a couple of guys I would dance with. There's one guy in particular, and man, he said, "My job is to make you look amazing. And if there's a mistake on the floor, it's my fault,
My
not
fault.
yours."
Yep. It's always the man's
And
fault.
so I actually did relax with him. It took a little time for him to work with me, but that's exactly, I felt relaxed with him, and he made me look like I was this amazing dancer. I go dance with some of these other guys that are stumbling, and next thing you know, and they're like, "Lisa, you need to let me lead."
Yep.
Well, but you're
Yep.
not. But you're not.
Yeah. Right. No, and it's interesting because even in the dance, you know this, right? Like this is in all relationship, the same thing in the dance. If when I'm dancing with my wife and for I have to plan ahead, right? I have a plan to get us around to the and whatever variation I want to pull because she has no idea. She's just responding to me, which is beautiful, and I still make her squeal, by the way. So that means I can still surprise her, and
Yes.
she's that present, that in the moment, that free. Like it's unbelievable, right? I live for that stuff. I live for that stuff to make her squeal. But if sometimes it happens, like for a second, I'm like, wait, what am I doing next? Like a
Oh,
fraction of a second, guess what happened? She goes stiff, instantly
yes.
stiff.
Yes.
This is what happens in relationships.
Oh my
Man,
God.
if you don't pick your shit up, she's gonna stiffen up and take it. And by the way, if you're gonna consider in relationship in dancing, the moment she stiffens up and now responding to me, she'll try to help.
Yep.
And this is when I get the elbow to the nose or the knee to the groin.
Yep.
This is what doesn't work. So unless I'm, like you said, right? If there's a problem, it's my problem because I'm the lead. So if there's a mistake, it's because of me because she's
Right.
responding to me, right? So responsibilities in that. But I'm telling you, in relationship, same thing. If the guy's soft, the woman will stiffen up and she'll
Yep.
take it,
Yep.
instantly take it, and then sometimes she'll take it and won't let go of it. And now we lost our groove. We lost our
Yes.
groove, and
Yep.
sometimes it unravels into horrible circumstances just
Yep.
because we We don't know. Like
Yeah.
we don't understand this dynamic, this energy. It's energy. Masculine and feminine is not a gender thing, it's an energy thing.
Yeah, people should really look at the dance and how that works because you're so right. That is such, it is an ebb and flow on both. I mean, you still are always the lead, but you're not controlling.
Right.
It's such a beautiful analogy. I
Right.
love that.
Yep.
This has been so great. It's been, we could talk on and on and on for
Yeah,
sure.
and again, it's like, it's not about traditional things. It's not going back into the 50s. It's not going back into
Right.
it's not that. It's a modern way to do all of that.
Right.
There's still a more traditional way. I hate to say people hate that word, but you'd expect men to be traditional. So
Right.
these men would expect you to be traditional or more traditional in a modern twist, in a modern
Right.
ways, which is where the negotiation comes in, the conversation comes in, the problem solving comes in, right? But understanding that we're going to trigger each other, and that's the
Yeah.
point. So are we going to be adult enough to be
Manage
adult?
it. Yeah. Yeah.
It's really,
Yeah. A
it's really,
leader, being the leader of the home doesn't mean that you're the dictator. That's
no,
not what it means, and that, and a lot of people misunderstand that,
yeah,
and it's not. It isn't. It is. Like I love that you have the four. I forget what you call them. I call them pillars, but
yeah,
and the communication and giving her space to say what it is
right.
that she does
Lead,
or doesn't want to do.
lead with sensitivities.
Lead with sensitivity.
And she
Yeah.
gets to say, I'm not comfortable with that.
Right.
Well, what do you mean? I'm not comfortable with that.
Right.
Well, tell me why, right? And this is again, I could lead like a tyrant, a dictator. That's what typically people go to, right? He leads and she
Right.
follows. So he's active, she's passive. He takes
Right.
control of everything, controls everything, she controls nothing. That's not it.
Right.
That's not even close to it. You know
Right.
this because you're in a healthy relationship. It's that old flow, that dance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not comfortable with this. I love that. I don't want to take that on. Would you? Sure.
Yeah.
I don't want to take care of this. You know what I mean? And some of these things are very traditional and some are not. The stuff
Right.
that I do, like I said, that are more feminine considered, but we both have each in one side of us. The stuff
Right.
that she does is considered more masculine, but she's good at it. She likes
Yeah.
doing it.
Yeah.
This
Yeah.
is the negotiation, right? This
Right.
is the flow.
It's not
Okay,
right or wrong. It's what works for
so
you guys.
without in the culture, it's telling you exact opposite, right? That passivity is wrong, or being feminine is passive, so it's stupid. It's
Yeah.
your
Or weak.
superpower. It's your superpower. You know what I mean? So for men to be passive and sweet and vulnerable doesn't work. For women to be too much in the masculine doesn't work. Like again, there's a sweet spot. There's a kind of more traditional ways of yin yang, masculine and feminine, with each one of us, then coming together and make that work.
Right.
It's not that hard. I'm telling you, I do it all the time. I have get this. I'm going to show off now. I don't know if you know this, but I also officiate weddings. So
Oh.
I did two last summer. I went to Texas to marry a couple that I started working with 2 years prior, and another one in Las Vegas, another couple. Like this is the ultimate reward for me, right? They go from not knowing, fighting, not be able to build anything to decoding all this for themselves, and then decoding men if you're a woman, decoding woman if you're a man. My favorite thing to do, like I have the owner's manual, I call it. You know what I mean? So you understand what's going on both sides and be able to kind of come together and negotiate and
Right.
talk about these things as opposed to taking it personally, reactive, you know. So like like officiating of weddings to watch people go from not able to boom. I'm gonna show off now. I have a 69-year-old that just got married
Oh.
after being alone for 30 years.
Oh.
But guess what she did? She stepped in. She's in Texas. She's very little and feisty, little firecracker, right? She's little, and she was 67 when she started with me. She's like, I realize I'm in good shape. I probably get a good 25 years going, maybe 30. And she goes, I'm not going to spend it like I just did the past 30,
Yeah.
alone, abandoned in the house, like again in man mode because she has to be her own protection, right?
Sure.
A woman in a house alone is not relaxed.
Mm-mm.
What's that
Nope.
noise outside, right? You have a sense of vulnerability, walking around packing because she doesn't feel safe all the time, gun under the
Yep.
pillow
Yep.
all the time. That's how you kill a woman's spirit, right? And whatever. She said, I have 25 years at least. I'm not doing this way. Let's go. Let's go. And she stepped in 100 miles an hour, decoded all her
Oh.
trauma, decoded let all that shit go, learn about men. She knew nothing about men. She took shit personally that she shouldn't have, and the stuff that she didn't take personally she should have, not knowing, right?
Yeah.
Decoded all of that, and then it, men started coming, and then it was a matter of sorting, really the finesse that she wanted, the things that she was not willing to put up with, she would let them go,
Mm-hmm.
right? But they kept coming like moth to a flame because she was able to pull them in energetically as a feminine, lovely woman who was wide open and go, sure, I'll talk to you. Sure. What do you got? Sure. Right. And anyway, she just got freaking married. She just got married,
Oh,
69. So she's going to spend the rest of her life as
being happy.
being happy and feeling like a girl and feeling protected and all this stuff and all this stuff she's always wanted to be claimed by a man and to be protected. That's all she's ever wanted.
Bless her heart.
Ah, come
I
on.
know, right? There's no amount of money that can give you the
I,
what
you
that
know,
gives you, right?
I
You're just
live for
like,
that stuff.
my job is
I
done.
live,
I'm happy. I'm
seriously.
happy.
But
That's
I
awesome.
put it on top of me marrying them myself. It's unbelievable.
Yeah,
It's
that's the
unbelievable.
cherry on the top of the. Yeah,
It's such an honor. It's such an honor. I can't. That's all I want to do.
yeah. It's
Ah,
motivating. Yeah, I
it,
know when you have a part in someone's healing and bettering their lives, there honestly there's
yeah.
really not much that's better than
So
that. It's
we
amazing.
yeah.
What, how can our listeners reach out to you if they wanted to, and what do you have to offer?
Right. So my two gifts, because I notice there's two types of listeners typically on the podcast. There are people who jump in because they're now kind of poking around at sort of trying to understand some of this stuff. Right. I call them the information seekers.
Yeah.
So if you're an information seeker, I'm going to send you directly to my email. It's Andre Coaching1 at gmail.com. Andre Coaching, the number one at gmail.com. And in the subject matter, if you write Irresistible Book, I'm going to send you to all you listeners who actually email me. It's a book that I wrote. It's called The Five Feminine Qualities High Value Men Find Absolutely Irresistible. This
Mm,
comes from my work with men. This is what men say. This is what men value. This is how you pull a man energetically towards you. All right. So
nice.
I sell it on my website. You can have it for free. Just email me, andrecoaching1 at gmail. Say Irresistible Book. Boom, you get a book. The
Nice.
other the other people who do come on podcasts often are people who kind of like are ready to take action or are kind of like ready to step in. Like
Yeah.
I'm sick of this. This guy says things that are interesting, right? Andre Coaching One in the subject box, right? Talk now. And what I'll do is I'll send you a link to my calendar. You can book yourself a call for free. It's on me, about an hour and 15. And in that call, we'll decode
Wow.
your trauma. It takes me 15 minutes. Decode where the wheels came off as a 5, 6 year old, right? So you understand there's nothing wrong with you. You're just a product of
Yeah.
your past. That alone is liberating.
Yes.
And then
Huge.
if you want to step in, we'll talk about that. So I'll do coaching one, talk now, or irresistible book. Those are my gifts for you listeners.
Well, thank you. That's awesome. That's beautiful. And I think, yeah, I might even get those books
Yeah,
just to
no.
know,
And
And it's not
if you want
just
both, yeah. And if you want both, do both. Seriously, I don't, and I have a, and if you want to ask me questions, do that at the same time. If you want to tell me I'm full of crap or you misunderstood, I'll explain. I can back all of
yeah.
it up. It's not my opinion, right? So please, if you got triggered, bring it. I'll help you.
Yeah, I think the way you explained everything was really clear, and
I hope so.
I think you did a great job in creating balance, And so I
Yeah.
have one last question for you. What do you
Yep.
want to leave our listeners with?
Ah, that's a good one. I
Yeah,
always, I know what's happening out there, and we talked about this earlier. Like what's out there is not working.
yeah,
Masculine women are not happy. Feminine men are not happy. Trying to come together in that doesn't work, right? Again, we still have like my assistant who cannot say out loud that she wants a traditional life. I say, ladies and gentlemen, forget your culture, forget your bad parenting, forget all the messages that have you in fear. Decide what you want. You want to be a boss, babe? Go for it. Beautiful, be you. But if you want to be, a woman with a family and children, forget the world. Go for it, right?
yeah,
Think for yourself. My message is think for yourselves. What is it that you
hmm
want ultimately? Forget your mother, forget your friends, forget the culture, right? What is it you want? Just like my assistant, she wants to be a traditional woman. Okay, and she knows that she shows up in the world in that way. She will get off the market like this.
yeah,
You know what I mean? Because that's basically who she is.
yeah.
So, think for yourself. Be
Be your
careful what you
authentic
bought
self,
into.
right?
Well, be careful what you bought into that may actually cost you your happiness.
Yeah.
Because what happens is, again, thinking you're going to have it all later, you know, for most women, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
At the age of 35 forward, pregnancy and having children naturally is very difficult, right?
Hmm.
This is all easier in the other. I'm just saying, like, so what's out there really will may cost you the quality of your life. So
Right.
think for yourself, think it through. What is it you want? And if anything I said, makes you want to get some more, come and get it.
Yeah. Send him an email. Well, thank you so much. This has been great. Yeah, we could do another podcast easily. This has
No,
been,
we can, and we should. I mean, I do this constantly,
I agree.
again and
I
again,
agree.
with other because there's so much to talk about.
There is. And so much of this is just balance, having balance in life,
Right, but you
right?
have to understand it. You have to also understand the mechanics of it in order to do
True.
it. That's part of it. We don't know how to do this. There's nothing out there to teach us how to do this,
True.
right?
That's so
Okay.
true. And it's true. And I love, like you men do think really very differently than us women. And we go into it thinking, oh, everybody thinks like this. And it's
Right.
not true. And you're right. And I talk about that. I mean, knowledge is power, and that's part of it. If I understand, when I now understand that how different men think from me, it helps me to be able to change my communication with them to where it's easier for me to
Ta-da.
get my point across to them or whatever it
Ta-da.
is I'm trying to say.
Right. Completely. We actually
Yeah.
speak and listen completely differently. It's another layer. That's part of the miscommunication. What I
Right.
say is not what you hear. When you say it's not what I hear. Sounds
Yep.
ridiculous because we speak English. We look at each other. You understand the words. We're
Yep.
not. The way that we don't listen and speak the same way. We don't communicate the same way. So again, decoding all this, like my favorite thing is when I teach a woman about men's instinct and why they do what they do. Get this: 50% of everything you take in personally goes away. That's a new
Huh.
life.
Oh, wow.
When you understand he's not a jerk, he's not cold, he's not shallow. Oh, he's in the middle of, oh, he's a man. Oh, he's providing this for me, us, then somebody else. Like you could see the action and understand his action as opposed to taking it personally. Like,
Right.
dude, that's so huge, right? That's a different
It's
life. You could
huge.
look at man with an admiration instead of contempt.
Right. Right. I know I've
That's
always been a firm believer in saying when you know someone's heart, when you know someone's heart, then when they do something kind of off, it makes you kind of go, oh, they don't usually do that. And so when you get to know someone and they do something kind of off, you're aware of it and you don't get judgmental with them, I guess is what I'm trying to say. You're like,
Mhm.
oh, that's not like them. Something happened. And you get curious instead of judgmental.
Yeah, but women take a lot of stuff that we do personally,
Very.
and it's not. Most
Yeah.
of how many times have you heard a man say, "That's not what I said. That's not what I meant. That's not. That's
I
not. That's
didn't mean
not
that.
right. That's not what I said. That's not what I meant. That's not what you did. Taking it personally.
Yes.
This is not what I did." And you're like, "Yes, I can feel it." You're like, "No, no, no, no." Right? So we missed the boat, and so this is when we think you're crazy, and then we think we're jerks
Yeah.
because right
And and then
we
that
don't know how
triggers
to do
us
this.
even more.
And then it's a shit show, and C is a jerk, and she's just crazy. That's
Yeah.
like, but that's not true. This is we
Yeah.
operate differently, and again, you take things personally. There's a good reason anthropologically. It's not because you're crazy. It's anthropology, feeling safe, and all the
Right.
stuff that triggers you that you don't quite even know about. You just react to. His side is misunderstanding his action because a woman would never act like this or talk like this. But you have to understand where he comes from, and all of a sudden, it's like, oh. Oh, he's just a dude. Just a man. Oh, it's
So
kind of
true.
cool. He's so sweet, actually. Now that you see what he's up to and why,
Yeah.
you see the motivation is so sweet as opposed to. Anyway, all that, right, changes your life. Like
Yep. Yep.
understanding what's going on the other side, and then come in the middle
Exactly.
and negotiate it. It's not that hard.
Exactly.
So,
Ah, well, this has been fantastic. Thank you so much for coming on. Thank you for
absolutely,
sharing. And
absolutely.
I've been enlightened a lot about a lot of stuff, and I thought I knew a lot already, but it's so interesting how different we are, and that's how God made us.
And that's the point. We're complementary. That's the point. We're not the
True.
same. We're complementary. That is the point. What I bring to the marriage, to my wife, to our relationship, my strengths are different than her strengths. But
Correct.
together, woo, together,
Yeah.
woo,
There's your
look
power
out.
couple, right? There's your
Ta-da,
power couple.
ta-da, you got it.
That's a real power couple. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Well, thank you so
raising,
much.
yeah,
I appreciate it.
absolutely,
I know our listeners
absolutely.
appreciate it. And
Yeah.
yeah, I probably will have you back to talk more about relationships because this is fascinating.
Like I said, 2 questions turn into 2 hours. You know, there's 600 questions out there per topic. I'm just saying.
Yeah. Well, thank you.
Absolutely, very welcome, and thank you for the opportunity. Again, my mission is to spread the hope out there. My God
Yeah.
mission is to change the cultural pace. It's beyond my business. It's really to change the pace of what's out there. It's not working. It's destroying relationships, which is destroying families, which is destroying the
Lives.
culture.
Yeah.
Destroying the culture, and our world's
Yeah.
going to hell because we going against what works best.
Right. What we're
There's a mo-
how we're
there's a
built.
modern there's a modern way to do this.
Yeah. All
Satisfying.
right. Well, we solved another world
Awesome.
problem.
There we go. All right, we'll do it again, darling.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.